Marketing yourself for clinical research administration opportunities. And again, I am Walden Career Services Advisor Nicole Skelton, and I will be your moderator this evening. And before introducing our faculty presenters, I would like to introduce our Career Services team. We have a small team. We work out of the Minneapolis office. For those of you who are not familiar with the Walden Career Services Center, our mission is based on preparing our learners to navigate career transition through educating, coaching, and advising. And here is a picture of our small team. And again, I am Nicole Skelton, bottom left, out of the Minneapolis office. And before we dive into our topic, I'd like to get some feedback from you, from the audience, on today's topic of clinical research administration. So first of all, what prompted you to enroll in the clinical research administration program? And if you could type in your answer using the questions box, and I will read as many as I can. So I'll give everyone a moment to enter. Again, what prompted you to enroll in the clinical research administration program? Just click on that questions box. Okay, they're coming in. Okay, great. Rochelle, I currently work in clinical research, but was looking to advance my career and or find out about new opportunities. Rochelle, thank you for sharing. Frederick says, new Ph.D., interested in research opportunities. Sharnia says, I have a lengthy research background but not clinical and wanted to move to clinical. Okay, great. Demetria says, I am a nurse with VA Health and we have research opportunities where I work. Oh, great. Celeste says, searching for a job and having some difficulty. So thank you for joining us today. Okay, great responses, and thank you all for sharing. We're going to get lots of questions for you to get you engaged here right away. So next question, what kind of experience do you have in the field of clinical research administration? Please type in your answer again. Do you have any experience? Or maybe you're making a transition and you have a healthcare related background. Please go ahead and type in your answers and share that again in the questions box. Okay, Susan says, one class away from completing graduate certificate. Great, in clinical research administration. Have not worked in research, but do want to transition into research. Have 35 years of clinical. Thank you, Susan. Interested in clinical research opportunities. Help with my career. Strong healthcare background. Oh, they're coming in so fast, I lost that one. Oh, transitioning from pharmacy to research. Do not have any experience. I'm a laboratory technologist, but would love to transition into clinical research. Great, Blanca. Healthcare background, working as a physician in a private practice. I have worked with research patients. Humphrey says, I have no experience in clinical research whatsoever. Frederick says, I have many years of experience doing health-related marketing research on the fringe of having a clinical focus. Want to get fully involved in clinical research. Wow, you guys, thank you for sharing. Demetrius, I have been a participant in a study, and I work in nursing education and research. I'm completing my Ph.D. and looking for future options. Wow, another student. I am an MD from Nigeria, but not yet working in the U.S. Looking for one. Okay. Mirna, healthcare-related background, interested in clinical research administration, new Ph.D. in healthcare administration. Wow. So we even have others joining us from other programs. Wow, you guys are phenomenal. Thank you for sharing that. This time I'm going to make it easy for you. And we have a poll. How many years of experience So you should see that poll coming up. How many years of experience do you have in clinical research administration? First option, none. I'm transitioning. Less than 1 year, 2 to 3 years, or 5 years or more. Again, how many years of experience do you have in the field of clinical research? None. I'm transitioning into the field. Second option, less than 1 year, 2 to 3 years, 5 or more. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and close the poll. Looks like most of you have voted. And Margaret and Shelby, hopefully this will be good information for you to have. Okay, 85% none, transitioning, and 13% 5 years or more. So it looks like either our students are transitioning, not a lot of experience on the webinar, and that's what we're here to deliver this webinar for you all, to give you some suggestions on how to move forward with your career, and 13% have a lot. Okay, so let's go ahead and introduce one of our faculty presenters. I'm very happy to have collaborate with Margaret, the academic coordinator and faculty member for the MS in Clinical Research Administration program at Walden. Margaret is a registered nurse licensed in Washington, D.C. She has a bachelor's and master's from the University of Washington and an advanced certifications from the ANA, American Nurses Association, in staff development, continuing education, and med-surg administration. She earned an EDS in Human and Organizational Learning in the School of Education and Human Development at George Washington University. Her career includes 15 years as a critical care nurse and faculty member at 4 universities. Her involvement in clinical research includes being a research coordinator at Harvard Medical School, the Director of Operations and Subject Recruitment at GW University, George Washington Institute of Clinical Research, the Director of Education for the Association of Clinical Research Professionals, and a consultant to clinical research industry. So she's a great person with a wealth of knowledge and experience to share with you, and she is the founding director of 3 programs. Bachelor of Science, I want to say Health Services, hopefully that's right, Margaret, Master of Science in Health Sciences, and MSN. Wow. After her retirement from GW, she joined Walden in the spring of 2009, has been the Clinical Research Administration Program Coordinator and full-time faculty member since July 2009. And she has been your contact throughout the degree program, so hopefully all of you know Margaret. And we are also very pleased to have on the webinar with us to share her expertise as well, Dr. Shelby Bohl. And she's worked in the area of public health and clinical research for 17 years, conducting studies in women's health, cancer, injury, genetic diagnostics, infectious disease, airway disease, and biologics. She began her career at the Dana-Farber Cancer Institute and the Sloan Epidemiology Unit, in addition to currently working as adjunct faculty member with Walden. She's also a senior research consultant and previously a program director for a global contract research organization. Her background includes a BA in Women's Studies, pre-med from University of California, Santa Cruz, Master in Public Health, Epidemiology from Boston University School of Medicine, and her Ph.D. Public Health from Walden. Her public health and research interests include vaccine preventable diseases, perceptions of vaccine safety, antibiotic resistance, and industrial farming, physical activity, and recreational vehicle injuries among older adults. Very interesting. Dr. Bohl is certified in public health by the National Board of Public Health Examiners. That was a mouthful. So we have faculty with varied degrees, expertise, certifications, and a wealth of knowledge to share with you all today. So now I'm going to hand it off to Margaret to go ahead and present our webinar topics and get started with our content.
Okay, thank you, Nicole. First of all, because we don't have this on this presentation, I want to give you my telephone number and email address. So I live outside of Washington, D.C., and my telephone number, it's my home office, is 301-365-2608. And I have virtual office, so anytime between 10 a.m. and 9 p.m. Be very comfortable in calling. I also, 7 days a week, if you don't get me, just leave your telephone number and name, and I'll call you back. And then my email address is margaret.skelton@waldenu.edu. So, and I answer emails fast, so don't hesitate to call me if you have a question or concern. Okay, what are we going to talk about today? We're going to identify growth areas in clinical research, discuss how to build your qualifications for entry-level opportunities, and career advancement in clinical research, and how to market yourself on your resume. Okay, growth areas in clinical research, and they're probably more than this, and maybe Shelby can even add some more, but pharmaceutical products, personalized medicine, devices, ethics board, mixed products. If you don't know what that is that's when you put a pharmaceutical or biological with a delivery device, okay? Global research, huge opportunities now in international research. Vaccine development, consulting opportunities, and those are for later on in your career, and also all the work we're doing in biologicals. There's so many different areas that are growing in clinical research. Okay, entry-level job opportunities. I'm not surprised at the distribution of experience. I've been with this program before it was launched, and from the beginning, I had, well, first of all, most of our student body, the majority of them are females. They're in the 35 to 45, 48. They're all over the country, mostly in North America, a few international people. Their backgrounds vary. We have MDs on this call. We have, I'm sure, nurses. We have people, we maybe even have some accountants. There's room for everybody. But if you need an entry-level job, the first thing you want to look at, a lot of people think they're going to come in as CRAs, which are monitors, and they're not, because that's a more advanced opportunity. But if you can get your foot in the door, like a subject recruiter, or an entry-level data manager, or an IRB staff member, or site-based laboratory staff, or entry-level business manager, or sometimes a research assistant, or many people get in there as a CRC. And what happens is they get their foot in the door in any of these positions, and then they get to know other people, and they develop a network, and people help each other to get the next job. So really think foot in the door.
Margaret, did you want me to add a little bit here on this slide?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. So Margaret makes an excellent point, and I think the majority of the callers have either some related experience, clinical or lab. I heard some nurses in MD. And one thing to keep in mind for these entry-level job opportunities is, yes, you probably are, you may be somewhat, quote, overqualified in some ways, but there are excellent ways to get that specific clinical research experience that you might not otherwise be able to do if you don't already have a position. So one of the things I'd like to just mention, if you're not familiar with kind of the industry and how it works, in terms of subject recruiters, you might find positions like that at research centers if you're in a good location near teaching hospitals or other independent research centers. CROs also hire subject recruiters or people to sort of take on that role, as do clinical staffing companies. So when you're looking for these kinds of positions, keep in mind those are the kinds of companies and organizations that might have these kinds of opportunities for you. Similarly, entry-level data managers, you might find those across the spectrum of research facilities. And with the IRB staff, those could be private or for-profit. So when you're looking for opportunities, keep that in mind as well. The other thing I wanted to mention, and some of you may not be familiar with, I did hear again that there was a lab tech on the call. You know, many of the later stage trials, you know, utilize centralized labs to handle all of the clinical data for the laboratory data for the studies, and there's several large ones, Covance, LabCorp, et cetera, and those are places where you might be able to look for opportunities. Similarly, if you have outcomes that are being measured like EKGs or other assessments, a lot of companies like BioClinica and others will provide centralized services for those tests. And again, those could be opportunities or places for you to look for opportunities. And then I heard someone else say about being a research assistant, how they had a lot of research experience that wasn't specific to clinical. And that's actually an excellent way to transition and to get, you know, sort of apply those skills from whether it's an observational type of study you're working on experimental trials. You can certainly apply those same sort of skills to the clinical research role. So I'm not sure, maybe we can talk about that more later when we have a question and answer section. But I think that's it. I just wanted to reiterate that some of you and many of you probably have skills and a set of experiences that are highly applicable to various roles within clinical research, and there are many, many, many companies and organizations to search for those opportunities. So, do you want me to go on to the next slide or anything else on that one?
Okay, I don't have the slide numbers on these, and Nicole, what number is this? I just have full screens.
I think the next one,
opportunity number 13.
Yeah, I think,
okay,
I think that one. Okay, so let's see. So I sort of briefly talked about where to seek out opportunities. Can everyone see the next slide yet? Sure. Yes. Okay. So again, contacting medical centers is a great way to sort of look for opportunities, whether they be you know, a part-time, a volunteer, or full-time position, to see what kinds of programs they might have or research centers they might have at those institutions. And there's a variety of places you can look for listings of research centers, and we can talk about that a little bit later too. This is a good idea, actually. Margaret noted that you can look in your local newspaper if you're not familiar with the clinical research sites that might be close to you and conducting clinical trials in your area. They may very well need a nurse coordinator, a study coordinator, or maybe if it's just a clinical research assistant or some of these more entry-level positions. Oftentimes they will do some training and on-site training, and you can gain those skills close, you know, within your community. Another very important one is to join your professional associations, and I'm not sure if any of you are already members of various associations, but there's several sort of key ones. The Association of Clinical Research Professionals, the Society of Clinical Research Associates, and the Society for Clinical Data Management. And the Drug Information Association is also another one. It's sort of the industry, central sort of large industry membership, that an organization that heads up a large annual meeting with a lot of great resources, and I would encourage you to try to attend one of those meetings in the future. Volunteering, as I mentioned, is a great way to sort of gain some experience. Volunteering for an IRB is a good example of that. And so if you are already, I think I heard someone that was at a VA, there's someone else I think at a research center. Assuming you're not already working in clinical trials, working on a panel for an IRB and reviewing a study is a great way to sort of get your foot in the door. I think we already touched on medical schools and teaching hospitals, so again, that's another place to look. And then you have all of your sort of internet-based job sources, and there are many, many. I wanted to mention that LinkedIn is I found a good place to sort of get your resume online. You can also get endorsements for skills from your current employers or supervisors if you have a specific skill. Let's say, for example, your clinical skills are superb, your medical writing skills are superb, you have some other related skill that you want to sort of bring to the front of your resume, they can endorse those. And then there's also these associations also have groups which you can join and stay connected to and network there through LinkedIn. And other places to sort of look for opportunities, I wanted to mention that I think we have a lot of people, just like Walden has a virtual position, there are people in the class, and Margaret and myself are located in different areas, so I'm not certain where everyone is located. If you are in a rural area without a lot of industry or medical centers or research facilities, where you are in another country other than the U.S., there are a lot of remote-based opportunities that can be obtained through CROs, and I would say that's probably the best place to sort of consider those kind of remote home-based opportunities when you are looking for entry-level positions and beyond entry-level positions, actually. There's been a real shift in the last 5 or 10 years to actually place clinical researchers throughout the United States and beyond globally to more efficiently manage trials. So that's something I would definitely want to encourage you to look at. Some of the major CROs, there's a whole host of them, but PRA, Quintiles, ProMedica, again, contract staffing companies are another place to look. They can also do some looking for you on your behalf in your area and help try to place you into a position that might be a good fit. I think
Can I say a couple of things?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, contact medical centers, medical schools, or teaching hospitals. One of the best things you could do is not only contact them and get a name, but dress up, take your resume, and go see them. There's nothing like meeting them face-to-face. Another thing is, although we've addressed a lot of these comments to new to the field, there's some MDs on this call. And you have a marvelous opportunity to be an MD, and you go in as an MD or a physician scientist, or take the education you have now and apply it and start being a principal investigator. So there's a lot of ways to really help you get involved. I would suggest if you're an MD or a Ph.D., you do go to DIA, Drug Information Association. It's diahome.com, and that's the website. Again, the more people that will adopt you, including say you have had a favorite professor or a favorite class, you still have their name and contact information. Don't hesitate and go back and ask them, I'm very interested in your field. Let's say David Carlin, who usually teaches our data management course. He's actually not going to be here next term, but he'll be back the next term. Just ask David, and he'll help you. Arnold Mendelson, for those of you who have had the epidemiology course, he'll help you. Don't hesitate, again, to reach out to me anytime. And I may not remember you, but if you tell me who you are and tell me a little bit about yourself, you'd be surprised how familiar you can become. So don't hesitate to reach out. That's about all for now. So next slide. Okay, lots of people want to know, what does the certification do for them? And there are three places that give certifications. Association of Clinical Research Professionals, SoCRA, and the Society of Clinical Data Management. They have different requirements for the different tests. They have education. These are associations, and they have education that prepares you for the test. What you have learned in this program or are learning will greatly help you. But we don't teach to a test. So when you get these when you go for these certifications, it really helps you to get another prep. Now, once you're certified, many times your college education, your college credits will work for recertification. The rules are different on each one of these. And if you would join one of these associations now, they have reduced fees because you're going in as a student. And if you go to these conferences, or if you join these associations, make sure you link up not only with the national organization, but with the local, because that's where you're going to get your best help. All these associations have local chapters, and that's where you're going to make friends and really get more help. Another way you can volunteer at a protocol startup meetings. Every protocol startup, or every protocol that's beginning, usually has startup meetings, and they're usually in major cities. But you know, you can kind of ask around and volunteer at the meetings. If you can publish something, if you can publish the last paper that you write for this program, your capstone, that's wonderful. Try for one. You know, at first you don't get to publish in a top-tier journal, no matter how good it is, your paper is. But really try to publish. You can present at professional conferences. A lot of times you can get free entrance fees if you volunteer to present at a conference. You can do poster presentations. You can become an officer in a professional association. You can volunteer at a research site or IRB. When you're looking for a job, although it's discouraging, it is almost a full-time job. You really have to work hard. Never underestimate your abilities or your knowledge, and you just keep working at it. And you will get that first job, and that's really the clue. Foot in the door. Next slide, please. Okay, why get yourself certified? Recognized and respected credential. It implies mastery. It establishes your professional network. It increases your opportunities. It's appreciated if trying to publish or present. It shows dedication to your profession. There's recertification opportunities, and it increases your training opportunities. A number of people go on to be trainers for these associations. Or, you know, at the doctoral level, you can also get, there's a number of programs now. They're all graduate. They're usually at the master's level. And we look hard for really good, experienced faculty members. And most of them are adjunct, like Shelby. Walden's main campus is up in Minnesota. But all of us, and I'm in the leadership role, are virtual. I live in Washington, D.C. So there's those kinds of opportunities, too. Next slide, please. Opportunities for experienced professionals. You can be a site manager. That's sort of like a head nurse of a site. You can be a clinical research associate, a CRA. A lot of people shoot for that. You can be an IRB administrator or staff person. You can be a project manager. You can be a data manager. You can be a senior scientist, an educator or a trainer, financial officer, or an international opportunities. And when you look at different places, and you can look on monster.com, you can look at all the websites we just told you about, read the job very carefully because so many places have different titles. A senior scientist may just be, not just be, but maybe a senior CRA. But you don't know until you really look and read the job description, okay? You can ask me more about this later on at questions, but There's many, many opportunities out there. As our economy has picked up in the United States, more and more jobs are becoming available. Nicole? Next slide, please.
Next slide, okay. I'm here.
Okay, Nicole did this for you. She put up all of the websites. Okay, so you can just click on that. And the one at the bottom we haven't talked about. But CenterWatch is a publication. It's run by Ken Getz, and some of you have used articles by Ken Getz in your papers. And CenterWatch has a lot of opportunities and jobs and things there. So that's a really good link to visit frequently. Okay, now this is Nicole's area of expertise. Talk to you later when I answer some questions for you.
Great, thank you, Margaret. Okay, so marketing yourself on your resume, and I'm also going to talk about career services and a sample that we have for career research administration, a resume sample, and kind of how to market yourself given all the background that Margaret and Shelby have shared. So first of all, kind of big picture, you want to make sure, as Margaret mentioned, that you really look at the details of the job position and review the job posting. I even recommend printing it out and highlighting some of the keywords and qualifications and really tailoring it. So the first step, starting to the left, is using CAR statements. And we have more information on that on our website. CAR stands for Challenge, Action, and Result. And those are the bullet points that you can put on your resume or on your LinkedIn profile. You really want to highlight your accomplishments, starting with the action verb, quantify when possible, show versus tell. So telling is just saying, I have excellent communication skills. How many times have we seen that on a resume? Pretty much anyone can put that on their resume. So it's really not unique enough to you if you just put generic statements. So what we're saying is, don't just say I have strong communication skills. Give some specifics, a specific example. So they were talking about medical writing. If you're really good at medical writing, report writing, those relevant communication skills for the field, then that's what you want to highlight. Showing versus telling. You know, showing how you match up to the job posting. So that's why it's really important to review the job posting. And finally, throughout your resume, you want to make sure you're summarizing your qualifications so the reader knows your abilities and how they're going to benefit them. So show how you're a problem solver, how you can meet their challenges. So, you know, in the end, how are you going to provide value to the employer? Okay, so here we just did a fun kind of screenshot, a Wordle, we call it, of the various different sections that you might include in a resume. So we just turned it into a visual here. Typically, you know, after your heading at the top and contact information, we recommend that you start with a summary section. And I'm going to go in a little bit deeper about the summary because it is very important. That's kind of the top 1/3 of your resume, and that's where you really want to highlight specific bullet points, the show versus tell, as I mentioned on the previous slide, using CAR statements, and really tailoring it to the position. This section is where you want to highlight your accomplishments, also most relevant to the job. So after creating a strong summary section, you could have your education and experience, and then after these, there are a number of additional sections that you can include, and they really depend on what your background is. Volunteer experience, internships, any specific credentials, certifications. And now we're going to just go into a little bit of detail about each section, and I'm going to provide you with excuse me, some examples. So again, this slide is focusing on that summary, the top of your resume, the top 1/3. That's really your marketing piece. So there's many names for the summary. You can call it a summary of qualifications, a career profile, a professional summary. Those are some common names. Highlights of qualifications, whatever name you prefer, it really doesn't matter. Again, you want to sum up your experience, your degrees, and your skills by highlighting the most relevant ones. So this is your opportunity to provide the reader with an overview of what you have to offer. You know, your transferable skills, which are skills like those communication skills, your healthcare background, leadership skills that transfer from one role to another. So identify those transferable skills and ask yourself, what contributions can I make to this organization? What skills and knowledge do I offer? And here is a clinical research administration resume. Of course, you know, you would need to tailor it to your specific background and credentials, and you can schedule an appointment with a career services advisor on your portal. And we offer 30 to 40-minute one-on-one phone appointments, and we can coach you and provide you with feedback on your resume. We do recommend, if you could, go into our website, and I'll be showing you a little bit about the website, where to find those resume resources, and we can help you tailor it. And we recommend that you go in there and maybe look at some samples first, see if you can update it yourself, and come to us with a new improved resume so we can really move forward and maximize that appointment time. Okay, so this is here, you're seeing just big picture of the resume. You'll notice, you know, it's neatly organized into the sections, has a lot of those keywords and bullet points, and the professional experience. And notice at the top, clinical research coordinator. No, I'm not necessarily saying you have to put that at the top if you've never been in that position, but it's a really good way to brand right at the top, and it draws the reader's eye in. So we're going to focus now. If I go back, you'll see that this is just really the top 1/3 part of this resume. It focuses on, you know, a brief 3 to 4 line paragraph, bolding that MS in clinical research administration, expected completion, experience in healthcare services, customer service, case management, okay, maybe the different roles or environments you've worked in, what's your area of expertise. Last sentence, worked part-time while attending graduate school, okay, that's a time management skill, organizational skills, highlighting some trainings and technical proficiencies, and then key accomplishments. These are examples of how you could organize those accomplishments using keywords, bolding them, and then providing a phrase that, again, going back to the show, don't tell, that really gives an example starting with an action verb. So business and business management, trainings and knowledge gain from trainings, reviewing medical records, medical record extraction, medical writing skills. I learned all this from Dr. Bohl and Margaret on our rehearsal the other day. Knowledge of ICH and GCP, your clinical skills, and then of course background in healthcare, healthcare-related credentials or experience. All of that is relevant. LPN, MD, PA, which is physician's assistant, and RN. So all of that is helpful in your summary, and you can see how visually this makes impact. It's nice and clean, a clean heading, it's branded, and key bullet points where the reader's eye can just scroll down and see those keywords. Okay, so that summary, again, here is really the branding part, the part you really want to focus on and tailor to each and every job. The sections after that, to me, is just kind of filling in the blanks. It's the easy part, okay? Of course, your degree, your school name, graduation, any extras, and here are some examples of how to format that. In a nice way to put your master's or PhD, if you're working on it, is put the degree and then put expected 2015, 2016, and they'll know you're working on it, right, with those words, expected, and no need to add anything else. Just, you know, keep it simple. Sometimes people put their relevant coursework, like in the second example. I put an example there. If you have any additional information, sometimes GPA, honors, awards, etc. Okay, experience. You want to make sure you create a tailored section title, meaning not just professional experience. You can have relevant experience, related experience, volunteer experience, internship experience, practicum experience, community involvement experience, or clinical research experience, or healthcare experience. So if you can, you want to tailor that title. So me, if I'm looking to moving up in career services at another university, I could put, you know, career management or career development experience. Or if I'm looking for a position in higher ed in general, higher ed experience, and I can provide my career management, my teaching experience, etc. So tailor it. Again, that's all about the branding, and it helps the reader go right down to that experience. And then the rest is just formatting. And notice again, I'm highlighting the challenge, action, and results. You don't have to list everything you did for this job. You know, 10 to 20 bullet points. I see that a lot. It's too much. Really focus on your key accomplishments. Accomplishments are what really sell on a resume, and it shows that you can come in and hit the ground running. Examples. Volunteer experience. Here's even an example of a life insurance agent, okay? Notice the bullet points here, because these are transferable skills. Starting out with action verbs: provided, established, applied. Active listening skills to understand clients' needs. Notice they're using numbers, percentages when possible, so they're quantifying. Provided life, health, disability insurance to 300 clients. Now we're putting it in perspective in the context. Through referrals and phone solicitations. Established trusting relationships that grew the business. So notice showing versus telling here again. Any additional sections? Relevant coursework, your credentials. Margaret and Dr. Bohl definitely recommended the professional associations. We recommend that as well. Highly recommend joining a state or local professional association. Many opportunities, both networking and job opportunities, can come out of networking through a professional association. Your training and certificates and the internships, and then special skills. Margaret had mentioned the other day, especially speaking Spanish, if you happen to speak Spanish, language skills, presentation, that's a subset of your communication skills, diversity experience, etc. So those extras can really, you know, many times students I work with, they put the extras way at the bottom of the resume, or they just don't think they're going to be impactful. Well, they really are. Those are things that could set you apart and differentiate yourself. So again, come to work with us. Here's a screenshot of our website, careercenter.waldenu.edu. No need to write it down. It is at the beginning of the PowerPoint. This webinar is being recorded. We will be archiving it on our website within a week or so. Usually it's up within a few days after today's live presentation, and we will also include a PDF of the PowerPoint. So I circled the specific resume resources. We have an optimal resume system, resume and CV resources. We have videos there, over 100 samples. And this clinical research sample is currently in our optimal resume system. It's under the management link, and we're going to actually work on creating its own special category called clinical research. So we're going to customize it. Then going on, so on to this blue button.
It's not me, Nicole.
Okay, I'm going to try to make sure everyone's muted. If not, we'll keep going on. So this is a screenshot of our optimal resume system. It's free to Walden students. We have over 5,000 students now utilizing this system. I think it's up to 5,500. So it has a resume builder, a letter builder, portfolio builder, website builder. Could you guys just mute just in case, please? A 100 samples on here, much better. So what you want to do is create a new account at the top, put in your Walden email. You need to be sure to use your Walden email because it'll validate you as a student. This is exclusively for Walden students, waldenu.optimalresume.com, and you can take advantage of all these 5 modules. I know today I'm focusing on the resume, but we have 100 resume samples. The clinical research sample that I'm sharing today will be in here, and we're going to create its own unique category. If you go in there tomorrow, it's still under management. We're working on creating that. You can build a portfolio and turn that into a website. So really amazing system that you want to take advantage of. And once you set up an account, that's your own account. It's private for you. You can create as many resumes in there, websites, again, their career websites, letters as you want. So take advantage of that system. Okay, now at this point I'm going to open it up for questions. Okay. Questions rolling in. First question, and then Margaret or Dr. Bohl, feel free to unmute and take the question if you think it's appropriate to you. First question, what should I include under experience if I have no clinical research work experience? From Pam.
That's for
Great
me.
question.
Can you hear me, Nicole?
Yes, perfectly.
Okay. You may not have any clinical research experience, but you have tremendous life experiences. And say it. We'll go into the one that was an life insurance salesman. You have marketing experience, and that's a great entry for patient-subject recruitment. What you should do is just think about what you have in your life. Say you've been at home. Say you've been taking care of your family since you graduated from college. Well, you've volunteered. You have leadership experience in your community. And again, and I'll give you my telephone number again, 301-365-2608, Eastern Daylight Time. If you really can't think of anything, give me a call, because with a few questions and a little encouragement, we can find you stuff to put in each one of these blocks. Please don't ever undervalue yourself.
Oh, Margaret, thank you. Okay, second question. I am CCRC with 9 years oncology experience, and I'm having difficulty finding a job to match my current salary.
Well, my first thing would be, where do you live? And if we can't get that to
So
you may
answer that. Where have you? Oh, Texas. She's in Texas.
A wonderful place for all these jobs. So right now you're CRC because you've been so successful and in there for 9 years in oncology. You may not be able to exactly match it, but you may be able to find a job that has more potential. You may be in that spot where you've ceilinged out on salary. So say you want to be a project manager, or you want to be a site manager. One, it may have a higher overall range, and two, you can negotiate. Experience is incredibly valuable. The other thing, and you may not want to, you can relocate. If some places pay for relocation, that may not be. You may have family, you may have all kinds of community ties, but there's a lot of things that make you happy at work. And obviously you have to be paid well enough to lead a good lifestyle. But you also have to feel like you're appreciated, and you have to feel like there's potential for advancement. If you want to go from CRC to CRA, that's, many people do that, but they don't think about being a project manager for a pharmaceutical or device company, or they don't think about being a site manager, one of my favorite jobs. And I had been doing this work, and they'll let you know a little bit about how old I am, for 47 years. And I have never, ever not been excited about the work and not found opportunities, or have always been employed. So I can only encourage you to just look a little bit beyond earning just a little bit more, but spread out. And every time you take a new job, you're going to gain skills to make you more qualified for the next job, if that's what you want to do.
Can I add to that, Margaret, too?
Sure.
A couple things. Okay, so who was the person that had the question? The name?
Oh, Celeste.
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 Okay. Okay, so a couple of things. I'm assuming an RN, 9 years in oncology, CRC.
Is it IVN? LVN?
Okay, LVN. Okay. Okay. Okay, so a couple of things, like Margaret mentioned. If we're looking at sort of industry jobs in biotech or pharma, one of the most natural transitions into an industry job would be into the CRA position, which CRCs generally can transition quite easily into those roles. And oftentimes, CROs are actively looking and recruiting for entry-level CRA positions out of the CRC market, if you will. There tends to be a shortage of CRAs that, oftentimes, because there's a lot of travel required, there might be needs in certain areas, say in Texas, in the third quarter of one year for some reason. There's a lot of studies going on in the area, a lot of sites enrolling, what have you. So demands can change and the need for CRAs can be high. So CROs are one place to look for those opportunities, and it's my experience that those positions tend to pay more than CRC positions, because that was your question. Although if there's an entry-level position, they could be comparable depending. I'm not sure what your salary is. Senior CRAs also can function lots of times for CROs in a remote sort of home-based location with some travel, and those positions can pay quite well. Definitely, in my opinion, in my experience, more than CRCs will at a site. In addition to that, once that progression is made from a CRA to a senior CRA within a CRO, there's, like Margaret said, there are project management opportunities which can reach into the 6 figures. So depending on years of experience and education and things. So there's a progression, and kind of getting your foot in the door into those careers that then lead to the next are really the way to go. And you don't have to, say, be a CRA for 10 years before you can progress into a project manager. Once you gain some substantial experience, and you should definitely try to get that next level position. I found in my experience that some people sort of either don't want to, or they wait, or what have you, but definitely I would encourage you to continue to try to progress into those higher management positions. And then lastly, because you're in Texas, there may be a lot of local opportunities, but like I said, there are opportunities that you can do remotely, and I would look into those, and I think I touched on a few of those. So hopefully that helps just add a little bit more info for you.
Oh, that's great. Thank you. And Shania says the career-related information is most useful toward the end of the schooling. Is access immediately removed upon graduation? And I can answer that, no. Our website is actually public. Anyone on the internet can use it at any time. That's why I encourage you to set up the optimal resume account now. And so far, you will continue to be able to use that as an alum. She said she's a semester and a half away from completing. Although these days, I do recommend that, it's never too early to start networking and with your career. Just never too early to utilize the website, utilize the resources, join a professional association, because you don't want to wait always until the end to start looking and start building that network. Okay. Another question from Susan. She says she lives in San Antonio, Texas, and volunteered at different sites who are conducting clinical research trials. cannot get in the front door or get the foot in the door as a volunteer, currently have 15 years as a licensed paramedic in Texas. So having trouble getting the foot in the door.
Okay, here's what I would do. That paramedic background's just essential. Find out who's developing either drugs or devices that paramedics are using, and contact them and see if they have R&D departments or if they're opening. I happen to know that there's a lot of work being done in relation to life-saving and paramedic work, and that's one way you could go. Let's see. San Antonio should be, Texas is in general a good place to have CRA jobs. Some states are pretty difficult, to be honest, but not Texas. Shelby, do you have any advice?
Yeah, I would actually, just a question. You said you tried to volunteer, and what kind of capacity did you try to volunteer at these research sites?
It says, well, I might have deleted it. Now I'm looking at a separate one. Susan, oh here, she applied as a research assistant, for a volunteer research assistant, Susan? Yes, okay. So volunteer research assistant.
Okay. So, it might be that that particular institution or site that you applied didn't have a need for it. They had some kind of concern about liability, or who knows at that particular site, or just you didn't hit the right timing for that. I don't know if you looked at numerous sites. I wouldn't give up on the volunteer approach. I think it's a good one. I also think sometimes that there are positions, like you said, as a research assistant that may be paid, they may not be volunteer, and perhaps they're not at a research center, a clinical research site, but perhaps they're at a medical center where there's observational research being done, so non-clinical, doesn't have to be clinical, where you can actually gain some research experience. So then once you have some research experience, then you can go to a clinical research site and say, I have research experience, I also have clinical experience, I'm interested in applying for your clinical research assistant position or what have you. The other thing, Margaret, you brought up a really good point about biologics. In fact, I was involved with one that, an artificial blood product that many years ago, and that was specifically for emergency responders or in the battlefield. So it's sort of, there are definitely areas of research where that is happening. Whether or not you would be able to find a specific biotech or biopharma that's doing something in your area, that would require a little legwork on your end. I would not rule out CROs, entry-level positions at CROs. I would again look at your skills as a paramedic, and not just as a paramedic, but do you have any other skills and other jobs or positions you've had previously, and see if those can be, some of those can be extrapolated to some of the other entry-level positions that we've kind of talked about. An IRB might be a good place to try to volunteer if you had no luck with the research assistant position.
Another idea.
Yeah.
Every time as a paramedic you go into an institution, when your patient is safe and on the road, ask them, do you have research going on here? And if they say yes, get a name and go back. Because you're in the institution, people are going to be friendly to you, so just ask. And, be more directive on who is it, how can I contact them? Because that's a real strong lead.
That's a great point. I sort of hadn't assumed. For some reason, I thought not currently a paramedic, but you're right. If you're still working in that capacity, then definitely, definitely try to make some contacts, like Margaret said.
Well, that's true for anybody, Shelby. If you're in there as respiratory therapist, or if you just find out if that institution has research going on, and you've got a little bit of your foot already in the door.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Susan says, great advice. Awesome. Thank you. Those are her comments. Excellent.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Last question here, it looks like. This is from Jordan. I'm CCRC with 10 years experience as a study coordinator. 3 years general health and 7 years oncology. I'm finding it difficult to break into the CRA monitoring field. Any suggestions?
Yes.
Yes.
All you have to do is when, this is how most people get, a lot of them get to be CRAs. You're at a site and you're doing a great job, and when your monitor comes, your monitors come, all your paperwork is in order, you're glad to see them, etc. Befriend them and tell them you'd like to move up in the profession, and would they let you know about any opportunities they know about. And you'd be surprised how many people get CRA positions because people that are visiting your site recommend you.
That's excellent, excellent advice. I can't tell you how many projects I worked on where I lost site coordinators to CROs who would recruit them away for studies, so other people's studies. So it's definitely a great way to network. Those people will often, and I don't, you know, there's definitely incentives for them too to bring on people at certain points. If they're, like I said, if there's a shortage of CRAs, CROs will in fact provide training. And if you have a strong CRC background with that many years experience, you should have no problem moving into the CRA role. I would say, as I kind of mentioned previously, to look at some of the CROs and, you know, there are a number of them, and look at the various positions, try to map, you know, onto the oncology therapeutic indication, because there may be a shortage of people with that specific experience, and especially for oncology, it's really important to have that clinical experience be specific to the therapeutic area. So I actually didn't bring that up previously, and we should probably just mention that now, is when you are creating your resume, a lot of times people do like to see a section on therapeutic experience, and so are indications that you've worked on in research. So if you do have research experience, most of the people on this call don't, but for the people that we have talked to that do have experience, be sure that you list your therapeutic areas that you do have experience, because they will look at that to determine if you might fit in a specific study. There's also a lot of contract to hire companies. If you're trying to get your foot in the door, a recruiter might be an idea to work with a clinical research recruiter. They will know of a lot of entry-level positions where training through a CRO or other contract research companies that provide staffing, and they can align you with the right study or the right opportunity. And those may be temporary positions, but I can tell you from my experience that oftentimes those temporary positions that might be 3 to 6 months often turn into full-time positions or much longer contract terms. In fact, I worked on a study where I was hired for a 6-week position, and I ended up working for the company for a year and a half as a contract consultant, and then they asked to bring me on full-time. So get your foot in the door, even with temporary positions. Look at some of the the companies that, you know, the clinical staffing companies, and you can do, you know, I have a few that I can kind of name off. There's Aerotech, Kelly Services, Randstad, Pharma. Anyways, they function similar to a CRO, but oftentimes they are much smaller, and those are good places to look as well. Hopefully that helps.
Yes, very helpful. Okay, so to wrap it up, specifically we have resources with a list of the professional associations on our website under the Resources tab. And then feel free to connect with Career Services. Beyond our website, we have a LinkedIn group. So I know Shelby had mentioned LinkedIn. We have our own Career Services LinkedIn group. We have a Facebook page. We have a blog that we write student success stories on the blog, and of course Optimal Resume. And I will include Margaret's contact information, if she's okay with it, for the archive.
Oh, of course, and don't hesitate to tell your classmates, because I'm here for all of you.
And you can give them my email as well, Nicole.
That's great. Thank you all. I'll include that at the end in some resources so that they can have the PDF of the slides. And again, we want to leave you with this quote, this inspirational quote: if you want something you've never had, you must be willing to do something you've never done, from Thomas Jefferson. And we'd like to really thank you for being on the webinar this evening, and hopefully it's been helpful. And thank you